Hey, it's Clay, and I wanted to do a tips video for playing aggressive Recon. I know that the Recon kit gets a bit of a bad rap in the Battlefield community for, you know, players on attack on rush who are sitting in the back of the map with their 12x 98 M98B, and I think that's probably rightfully so. That is pretty annoying. But I do think that the Recon kit is underused. I think that it has a lot of potential to play aggressive and to be successful doing so. So I wanted to give some tips, because with the latest patch, the damage multipliers have changed, so you can be more aggressive, you can be more successful when you're playing aggressively. And I want to see if we can try to move a bit of this perception around. So first I want to talk about your loadout and your kit selection. Now, this is really important because it will really dictate your pace of play. So looking at the sniper rifles themselves, I would recommend one of the high ammo capacity snipers and not the M98. And my preferences are either the M40 or the SV98. Both are solid choices, and the differences are pretty minimal. The L96 is a good choice too. I've heard that it can be a little bit glitched and that the bullets don't always go exactly where you want. And I haven't tested it or anything, but I'm so in love with the SV98 that I wouldn't know why I would ever want to change. But the M40 is a really solid choice as well. Both of them will work just fine. So as far as attachments, I really love the holoscope, and it is a very aggressive choice. And if you are performing a little bit more medium to long range shots, something like the ACOG or the 3.4 times scope, I prefer the Russian. This is actually my second favorite scope after the holos, this PKA 3x4 Russian scope. Very minimally invasive. It just has that one little triangle, which really helps. I love having a nice clear open sight and then just relying on your reaction time. I find that the ACOG can get a little bit busy, can be a little bit too much going on there, and engaging bullet drop isn't really a huge priority of mine. But as far as scopes, I would definitely stay away from the 12x or the 8x. The long-range scopes that have the sniper glint are a huge liability, and especially if you're trying to play aggressively. First of all, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have such a long scope, and also it almost provides the enemy with like an instant map hack because they can see where you're at even from a long ways away. So I just find the sniper glint to be a huge detriment, and so running these longer scopes is not helpful. And with the 4x or the 3.4x, you can get some good scope for some of those longer range shots, and with some practice you can really get it down. So that's my recommendation with the scope. And moving to the second attachment, the straight pull bolt is definitely the way to go. The bipod is like the antonym of aggressive recon. I would never put a bipod on a semi-auto sniper. That makes no sense. Or on a bolt action sniper. The straight pull bolt is a good choice. I almost instinctively have gotten so used to ducking behind cover and then unzooming while you cock the chamber back, but the straight pull bolt is a good choice, and you might as well do it. There's no reason not to, so that's a good choice. Now, in your third slot, none of these choices are really going to be that effective. The suppressor would be a really bad choice. Maybe if you wanted to play really aggressively and kind of sneaky would be a good choice, but for those medium range shots, I find that the suppressor really hinders that multiplier, and you want to get as much distance you can out of that upper body one-shot kill multiplier, so the suppressor is not a good choice. The laser sight can be a good choice. I run this quite often, and I like it I think it helps me with no scopes if you're firing from the hip. I don't have any stats to confirm that it actually increases accuracy, but as a visual cue, it does help me to actually see when the red dot lines up on the opponent and then pull the trigger. So it can be helpful with no scopes, but at medium range it can be a bit of a liability because that laser dot will alert the enemy as to where you're at, and you kind of want to be as unseen as you can for as long as you can. And the tactical light, I think it's obnoxious, and I can't really see why it would be a good choice. So I would never put the tactical light on. It's just going to tell other people where you're at, and that's not what you want to be doing. Going with nose third, it would be a good choice. But yeah, it's pretty important that you set your sniper rifle up in a way that sets you up for success. Now, going to the sidearm, I prefer a sidearm that is going to be effective in close range. I think that's probably the most important choice to make. The G18 suppressed is hands down my favorite. It is so good close range, and I almost use it as a shotgun. You're probably not going to have any success taking out multiple targets with the G18 suppressed, but to get that one guy, it is really good, and you can beat assault rifles, you can beat SMGs with it. It's a really good weapon. You know, the Magnums are not a bad choice, the 44 mag and the 412 Rex. I prefer the Rex just because it has a faster rate of fire, and also I find that the reload is a little bit quicker and it's a little bit easier to use the reticle. But the Magnum is more powerful and you can get some one-shot kills with it. And those are good choices as well, just because they're high damage. And also the 93R would probably be a good one to consider as well because it's really good at close range. But I find that your pistol is a really important part of playing aggressive recon, and I do switch to it very often. In fact, the G18 suppressed is my #1 kills weapon in all Battlefield 3, so don't be afraid to use it. Now for your gadgets, the MEV or the tugs are the ones that I find most useful. You know, if you're playing a vehicle-heavy map, the Soulflame would be a good choice as well. But I think that the MEV is slightly better just because it gives you the capability to fly up in the air and spot enemies, whereas the tugs is more it's stationary. And if also you can use the MEV as a tugs and just kind of leave it on the ground to kind of patrol an area. I like to use the MEV to set it down to watch maybe my blind side or a long line of sight, just to give me that extra bonus for spotting. And that can be really helpful for your teammates too. I mean, it is the Recon kit, so even if you're playing aggressively, spotting is a huge incentive, something that you really want to do to help your team out. Now, the spawn beacon is extremely important. It's probably the most important part of playing aggressive recon, to #1 help your team, but also to get yourself in a position to be aggressive. I find that good spawn beacon placement can really turn the tide of a rush match, because being able to get into that and overwhelm with reinforcements, it's just invaluable. And so really good spawn beacon placement is really critical to playing effective aggressive recon. Now for your specialization, I would really recommend squad cover. I find that with the increase in suppression since the latest patch, single shot weapons, especially bolt actions, are really hurt by that. You know, if you got an M16 you can spray, if you're at close range, it's not a huge deal if you get suppressed because you still have that fast rate of fire to fall back on. But because with the bolt action you only have one bullet, and if suppression is going to cause that bullet to not go where you want it, you know, getting out of suppression is essential. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to be running squad cover so you can get out of suppression as fast as you can, and you can get back into getting the first shot off. Because really the most important moment when you're playing aggressive recon, when you see an enemy, you got to make your first shot count, because you can kill him faster than he can kill you. But if you miss your first shot and you start to get suppressed, then it's all over.